Welcome to Sketching Shakespeare, the show where we sketch Shakespeare. I'm Steph Cagnola, and this is my friend Emily Swan. So I'm excited today because the piece that I'm bringing is from the show that we just kind of locked in to do next spring in Ramsey Park for our one rehearsal Shakespeare show, and it is Troilis and Cressida, and
Ooh.
it is all about the Trojan War, except not at all about the Trojan War.
Okay.
So the best part of this play is that it has all of the Trojan War like heavy hitters. So it's got Achilles and Ajax and Agamemnon and Paris and Hector and like all the cool like Helen of Troy, but it's not about that. In the same way that Natasha Pierre in the Great Comet of 1812. There it is. There's Josh Groban. Josh Groban's little face. In the same way that Great Comet is about like an 80-page sliver of War and Peace, where it's like a romance little nugget in the midst of that war. Troilus and Cressida is like a 2-week sliver of the 7-year Trojan War, right? So it's this little like romance thing.
Okay.
Comedy, drama, comedy. But it's not about anyone that most people would recognize about the Trojan War. So it's about Troilus and Cressida.
Is it because it's easier to tell a story about the people who might not be known or weren't historical figures, or was it just Shakespeare and Shakes?
I kind of feel like it was Shakespeare and Shakes. Like he had all of these ideas about these Trojan War personalities, but didn't have a unique story to tell about them, right? Because they're like the story's been told.
Mm.
And Troilus and Cressida are part of like Trojan War. I don't want a legend, I guess, myth. I bought the Iliad so that I can read it to kind of see how Homer does it and then how Shakespeare kind of bounces off of that. But yeah, it's just like it's a little love story, kind of. It's weird, sad, weird ending. But that's fine. We love that. So the scene that I'm bringing to you is Act 3, Scene 2, and it is well, thanks for being here, Songheart. Um, so this is like when Troilus and Cressida first get together, and the person most excited for Troilus and Cressida to get together is Cressida's uncle, who kind of like sets them up, and also in my mind is just super in love with Troilus, but instead, like because Troilus loves Cressida, he's like, go on, and she loves Troilus, but she is not gonna say it. She's very guarded about her feelings, and has been very like protective of how strongly she actually feels for Troilus, just out of protection because of the world that she lives in. So this is the scene where, let's see if I can boost this a little bit. Hmm. All right, that's. Oh, I could do this. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the synopsis of this scene, right? Pandarus brings together Troilus and a seemingly reluctant Cressida who finally acknowledges her love for Troilus. So I'm going to read little pieces of it because there are some speeches in this scene that are just so good and fun. And Pandarus is like bouncing around this, like, I don't know, from bush to bush to like like watching this scene happen as this like cheerleader for it, but without like being really part of it.
Okay.
Um so he comes in, and the first thing he says to so Troilus, I'm giddy, expectation whirls me round. The imaginary relish is so sweet that it enchants my sense. Um he's so excited. And Pandora says, she's making ready, she'll come straight. You must be witty now. Like Come on, Troilus, get your shit together. Like, I need you to be on your best game. Like, you're so boring. You're so just get your shit together. Um, and so Cressida comes in. Come, what needs you blush shames a baby. So Troilus is like embarrassed, he's scared, he's like nervous. And Pandarus through this whole scene is just like, that's what I imagine all of his lines are translated to. Why do you not speak to her? Come, draw the curtain. Um, nay, you shall fight your hearts out ere I part you. The falcon as the tercel for all the ducks in the river. Go to, go to. He's just like, get it, get it. Troilus, you have bereft me of all words, lady.
Oh.
And Pandarus is like, what the heck? Words pay no debts. Give her deeds. Just kiss her. They do. And so finally, it says Pandarus exits. The liberal with that actual stage direction where he exits to. Um, and so Troilus and Cressida have this really sweet, like it's very tentative, it's very formal. Will you walk in, my lord? The gods grant. And finally, they go through all of this, like very, very kind of formal back and forth. And Pandarus comes back in, blushing still. Have you not done talking yet? Again, he leaves, and Cressida says, boldness comes to me now and brings me heart. Prince Troilus, I have loved you night and day for many weary months. And Troilus is like, what? Why was my crescent so hard then to win? Could you not have told me that, like, I don't know, months ago?
Couldn't have mentioned
And
this sooner?
could you not have said this sooner? She says, hard to seem one, but I was one, my lord, with the first glance that ever, pardon me, if I confess much, you will play the tyrant. I love you now, but till now, not so much, but I might master it. In faith, I lie. My thoughts were like unbridled children grown too headstrong for their mother. See, we fools, why have I blabbed? Who shall be true to us when we are so unsecret to ourselves? But though I loved you well, I wooed you not. And yet, good faith, I wished myself a man, or that we women had men's privilege of speaking first. Sweet, bid me hold my tongue, for in this rapture I shall surely speak the thing I shall repent. See, your silence, cunning and dumbness from my weakness draws my very soul of counsel. Stop my mouth! And shall, albeit sweet music, issues thence, Troilus says, and they kiss, because stop my mouth is very often an invitation for a kiss.
Hmm.
Like, make me shut up. Just kiss me already. Stop talking. And of course, Pandarus is just there. Hey, we did it. Again, they kind of have this lovely back and forth. Pandarus leaves again, kind of. And then they have this last like little bit. If I be false or swerve a hair from truth, when time is old and hath forgot itself, when water drops have worn the stones of Troy, and blind oblivion swallows cities up, and mighty states characterless are graded to dusty nothing. Yet let memory, from false to false among false maids in love, upbraid my falsehood. When they've said as false as air, as water, wind, or sandy earth, as fox to lamb, or wolf to heifer's calf, pard to the hind, or stepdame to her son, yea, let them say to stick the heart of falsehood as false as crested. And Pandarus is just there to amen. And it's just like this like as false as crested bit is obviously comes back to play in the end of the play because Troilus thinks that she has been false. And so there's this strong back and forth in this whole scene about like being honest and being truthful. And Troilus like really, really hammers it in because he's insecure and a dumb baby like most men in Shakespeare are. But then Cressida just has that really beautiful like speech, like as false as air and water and earth. And it just is really nice and pretty. And then of course Pandarus is there to be a weirdo at the end of it.
I kind of like him though. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's the perfect amount of weirdo for me.
Yes, it's like he's an incredible character because he's just um the scene the other one that I was going to bring is basically all the soldiers coming back from war and Cressida being like, "Ooh, he's hot," and Pandarus being like, "He's nothing like Troilus. Ooh, Troilus is so much hotter." And she's like, "That guy's hot too, though." And he's like, "Whoa, are you blind?" And then Troilus comes, and she's like, "Eh," and he like just about has a conniption fit. But yeah, he's a wild one. He's really like there's so much energy in everything that he says and so much movement in everything that he says, which is a really cool part of all of his lines.
Okay, so for this scene, and I know you probably told me, but I've been absorbing a ton of information,
Mm-hmm.
didn't retain as much. So this is their first meeting, but they are, or not their first meeting, but they are
It's their
betrothed.
first like being alone together.
Okay.
They are
Okay.
not betrothed.
Okay.
Yeah. They've like met. They've been around, but this is the first time they've really like had space to talk about it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And
So
then
Troilus is a prince, one of Priam's sons. So Paris' brother, Hector's brother. Troilus is one of the princes of Troy. And Cressida is just a lady.
okay.
A rando.
So she should be more jazzed about like marrying up, I guess, right? Or
I think that's part of it, right? Is that she's so afraid of letting herself get too excited because
okay.
he is a prince and because he is in this position like so far above her and he could mess with her heart however he wanted and there'd be no repercussion. So
Gotcha.
she's been protected. So that hard to seem one, but I was one. Like she didn't let herself seem it because she was afraid of what he would do if he knew that she loved her before she was like absolutely certain that he loved her,
Okay.
if that makes
It does.
yeah.
But it's also that's so much fun. Like such a fun thing to play with because I'm assuming she gets some scenes where she talks about like how she's feeling and stuff and
Right from the very beginning, yeah, after that parade scene, she's like, "Oh, my uncle's so stupid. I love Troilus so much."
so how old is the uncle usually
um
expected to be or played to be?
so usually he's played as like significantly older, like grown-up man age
Okay.
versus like teenage Troilus and Cressida age. Um, I will likely play him roughly the same age as Troilus. It'll be more of a cousin to Cressida than an uncle, which like the terms of cousin and uncle, like they're kind of interchangeable in Elizabethan anyway. Like
Yeah.
those family lines were not always accurate. Like it wasn't like
Yeah.
um so yeah, I like to think of Pandarus as younger because I think that it adds a really special layer when like Pandarus is in love with Troilus. I think that there's a like kind of sadness about him rooting for the two to get together and then obviously what happens through the end of the play like I think the nuance is nice.
Okay. That's good. I wanted to age him down a little bit, but
Mhm.
I'm always curious. Like I don't at this point I don't assume that it's super super important, but I always like to ask.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that Cressida would most likely be like a Juliet or a any of the other ingenues like a 16 to 18-year-old theoretically.
Okay.
Are those backpacks?
They are.
Yeah, they
So
are. Yeah, it does feel very high school, doesn't it?
it does. So I'm thinking like gap year age. So they've graduated high school, but they're like going on a trip, and like this is him being like, we're at all these romantic spots. Like now, like talk to each other. And they're just like, okay, and take a picture and then like go on to the next thing. So it's him like trying to like guide them through all of these like nice romantic moments that could be really great and just having nothing. Like, yeah, that's my initial pitch.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's really, really fun.
But yeah, they feel it, and there's a fun to that like young love, that not being able to talk to each other type stuff. And it's certainly not limited to teenage and early 20 somethings, but I
Hmm.
feel like the shorthand of it is a lot easier when you just understand. Like, oh no, these are not people who've experienced a lot of this yet. They're still
Hmm.
babies and they're still learning.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the key of those characters. They're just stupid babies, but sweet and wholesome. And like this is this is one of those things where like this scene goes right into intermission, and it is everything's perfect and everything's wonderful, and then the like very next scene, I think it is, Cressida is traded to the Greeks.
Oh jeez.
Yeah. Yeah. So because her father has, like, I don't know, defected, or he's over with the Greeks, and so he's like, if we give this warrior back to Troy, we can take my daughter here. More of, women being pawns in.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so of course that betrayal, but like it's not her fault. And so as she's like kind of given to this Greek warrior, we see, it's a cool scene where like we see their conversation in their tent, but Troilus can see it but can't hear it.
Mm.
And so he makes all of these assumptions naturally because he's a dumb boy. Um and yeah, that's where the drama comes from.
Again, coming back to if they would just talk to each other.
If they would just communicate. It's crazy. Much Ado is in the lead. Speaking
Ooh.
of communicating, we've got some definite Instagram win for Much Ado, for House Much Ado. Twitter, I think Much Ado is also still in the lead. If y'all haven't listened to the real world episode of, oh no, Romeo and Juliet has taken
Ooh.
the lead. Twitter. Wow. Okay. Okay. Um Swan was just on the real world episode of Protest Too Much. So House Messina, real world Messina versus real world Verona.
Which I love.
Mhm.
The naming of that makes me so happy.
Yeah, they're so good. Like it's both messy seasons. For sure. I love this like step up because it feels like a very Shakespeare, like it feels like a very dramatic like proposal proclamation kind of stance. But
Yeah.
seeing it for like high schoolers is very funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I just like for some reason in this Pandarus is kind of he's have to be try that again. I'm putting him in the kind of like guidance counselor role, I guess, or in the like he is the adult who is going on this like study abroad trip with them. So
Oh
he's
my
trying to like
he's
guide
the
them be
Will
like,
Schuster. Ew. No, I
well,
hate it. Ew.
no, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want him to be anything like that. Ugh.
I saw a TikTok
It's
yesterday
gross.
that it was like two slides, and the first slide was like warning, sensitive content, NSFW or whatever, and I like swiped, and it just was a picture of Will Schuster.
Yeah, like it's funny to me that I was willing to, and I've watched very little Glee overall,
Mhm.
but like I was willing to suspend my disbelief for so many things and other stuff. I'm just like, no, No, burn it. Straight to jail. Stop this. What are we doing here?
Straight to jail.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I'm putting them, like, at least for this in my mind, they're this is, this is like either they're freshmen in college or gap year in between, like,
Yep. They're
but
all adults.
yeah. Yeah. Just for my
That's so funny.
mental sanity.
Yep.
uh
Amazing.
but yeah, because that's the way I just like that would be a reason why he would need to be like there with them always and like guide them around. Like, no, like you can, you've got your backpack, you can explore a little bit, but like I'm gonna make sure that you get back on the bus and we get back to the hostel and
Yep.
all of that. So
No, that's really fun. Gap year. Gap year Pandras. Hi, hero.
which I should have done. That would have been the smarter thing to do, but I didn't.
No, I love it. I think that's really fun. Thinking about all these like romantic spots, these beautiful places, and just this like crazy guy popping up behind them, like poking out his head in between the Colosseum like arches or whatever. The Eiffel Tower.
Well, that's why I was like, okay, so I kind of want to set this in like in Troy esque.
Sure.
Like I was like, but I don't want it to be that time period. So I was like, okay, so how do I marry that problem? And I was like, oh, we'll just be there visiting.
Now, when you have something like that, like what kind of I guess research, like do you just Google Troy?
I did. For this one, I was just like, Troy. Like, what do we look like here? I think I even did like Trojan War landscape just to see, like,
Oh.
okay. Because we'll say, as we learned from our GeoGuessr episode of In Addition, my geography is real weak. So
Mm.
I'm just like, okay. So, like, what? And what's fun about this is I don't need it to be exact. I just need it to be kind of, fun and. Sorry, turkey. Thank
Oh
you.
no. Oh no.
Oh, no.
Oh no. You know everything started in Turkey, right? The star forts and the
Oh,
giants
God.
and everything traces back to Turkey.
That just brings it all together in the
You
most
wouldn't
perfect
even
way.
you wouldn't even believe what they've dug up there. They don't want us to know.
I believe that. I definitely believe that.
Wherever there's fracking, you'll find a star fort. So for those of you watching,
Such an
I
insanely funny sentence to me.
I had a Lyft driver um the other day. And this, I mean, it was before 5 a.m. It was like he picked me up at like 4:45. And he's like, "Our podcast fine?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." He's like, "Yeah, it's too early for music." I was like, "Sure, yeah." And then I made the mistake of saying, "What are you listening to?" He's like, "Oh, it's this guy. He's an Egyptologist." And I was like, "Very cool. Like that is legitimately cool." He's like, "Yeah. Uh, did you know Egypt was a supercomputer?" And I was like, uh. And then he went on for the entire 45-minute drive. Like he did not stop talking about macro processors and star forts and Turkey and the Vikings. Oh, right, because Turkey is where they dug up the red-headed giants with long faces and 6 fingers, which were probably the Vikings. They just didn't want us to know.
I'm so so this came up in a conversation I was having with somebody else because I was like, okay, I was like, looking back on weird ride share experiences I've had, and I'm so mad that the one that I had while I was in Austin for your wedding, where the guy went on a whole like it was a long ride too, and I was just like, oh, this is not good. He went on a whole like financial thing, like he had it all worked out, and I'm like, I'm so sad that I did not take better notes on it because I'm just like I wish I could, like, I can't even pretend to parrot back some of the shit that he said because it was just so bonkers. And it was the very much like, no, because you lend and you take out this thing and then you can pay it off with this and then you do this and that's how, and I'm just like, at a certain point, sir, I'm far enough from my friends. Not everybody else is in town yet. I don't know this city well. I was like, I need to agree with you because you very much have control over me right now. But
What else was I gonna say besides, yeah, uh-huh,
mm-hmm,
yeah,
mm-hmm, yep. Like
like
I'm staying in an Airbnb. I don't have my own car. Like you you win, but I just want to get to my destination. Thank you.
well, apparently we should all be getting into load brokering, according
Oh,
to Jenna's Uber home from work.
nice. Nice.
Great.
See,
So we got
we are
aliens,
so lucky.
finance.
So lucky to have met all of these incredible humans to
Yeah.
give us this financial advice.
I mean,
And
I
yeah.
was in Denver, so I guess that's uh an explanation. Oh boy, but it was something, and it all came back to turkey. Um, you know,
That's so funny.
as it does. I just yeah, local sports would have been a much better. But like that was the problem, is that I didn't want to be having a conversation in the first place. I just wanted to sit there and like fall asleep. I was so tired. I was so just exhausted, and I didn't want to be talking, let alone talking about aliens are from the future and not another
Aliens.
planet, which I was so mad about because like I literally wrote a book where that was the conceit of it, and I was like, or conspiracy theorists stealing my shit, like my fiction, and pretending it's real. Why do you have to ruin everything?
Literally the conversation we had during Mike's topic.
Hmm.
It's just like, but why? This could have been such a fun and funny little thing, and it's not gonna be.
People just ruin it, right? Yeah, just let us be fun and silly. Don't make it a thing. uh, um. So I have been, as we've been talking about that, looking up like the ruins of Troy, modern
Mm-hmm.
day, and they're pretty cool. They're pretty fun. It's like there's like an amphitheater
Yeah.
space.
Yeah, there's some really cool stuff.
Yeah. It feels very Roman
Yes.
without like, well, now Ace, you sound like my Lyft driver. 10 ruins all laid on top of each other, in a pyramid shape. That's a star fort. Wherever there's fracking. But yeah, so it's very cool. Like it's a lot of like I was saying, like very like Roman style uh ruins. I think that ruins are so cool, and I know it's obviously like sad that they have been ruined, but um just the seeing like the grass coming up through all of the like stone, I think is such a beautiful image.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's neat too. Like I know we went to a fort that had obviously was very little of it left when we were in Hawaii, and it's just neat. It's neat to see what architecture survives, and it's just yeah, I think it's very cool. I love that's one where I'm like, oh, I genuinely enjoy wandering around and seeing this and learning about it, and I like any time that they will do like 3D renderings of what it would have looked like, and especially if it's a walking tour and you have that access to that as well, because I think
Mhm.
that's a very cool thing.
Yes. Okay, now what I'm looking at that you're dragging around right now, I thought it was two people, but
Mm-hmm.
then is that a statue?
Yeah, so I've kind of we've moved location a little bit more to Rome, so
Okay.
it is the two is Troilis and Cressida looking out onto the fountain, while Paradis is posing for them to show, like, look, it's a fountain that's very romantic, and look at these two lovers in the fountain.
I love it. And that is that like just like an exclamation mark above Troilis's
Yep.
head, like
Yep. Or question mark. He's
a
just
question mark, yeah.
he's having a lot of feelings that he doesn't know what to do with.
That's such a fun way to like represent all of those internal like what the F's. Um cuz yeah, most of this scene Troilus does spend being like, I I don't know what to say. So seeing that in like the punctuation above his head is very like sim like and cool.
Yes, yes, I like that. I think it's a very fun that I very much get from a lot of anime and manga because they're
Mm,
very expressive in that way that I you didn't see a ton in Western animation for a long time. It has since crossed continents and mishmashed a bit more, but it's just something fun that I absolutely adopted from all of those early years of uh, watching and reading anime and manga, but I like it. And it as we were saying this, I was like, "Oh, so we could go even one step further and we could actually just make these different like Polaroid or
Polaroids.
postcard. Yep, trip memories. Got
Yep.
there. We got there.
Yeah, as soon as you put the square around, I knew exactly what you were doing. Like that's so fun. Cuz what a great like Troilus and Cressida, 30 years later looking back on their trip with just Pandarus in all of them.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah. Yeah, he's in every single shot and it's again, this is the like it is some of the fun of getting to do a time jump or cover a lot of information in
Mhm.
just a single page where you can do these fun collages and you can tell so much story just in these little like moments and I love
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, they're so cool. And like I knew it was a long scene to bring. Um but like there are so many moments of it that are just so sweet and cute and fun. And then, Pandarus hopping in and being Pandarus. It's just like it does cover a lot of ground. So I was kind of interested to see like how or what you did with that storytelling wise. And this is such a cool way to cover all that ground.
I just love everybody needs a Pandarus. You need the person who's like rooting for the two people to get together and
Look how happy he is.
he is having the best time and I love that for him.
Yeah. And I just love like Troilus's eyebrows are so uh they're just so it's so there's so much emotion just in that like ah.
Well, you know me. I love a himbo character and Shakespeare consistently delivers. I get such
Honestly,
fun.
yes. Like how is he so good? Do you think Shakespeare was a himbo
Him
or is
no,
he
but
too
I think he knew a ton of
mm,
them. I think that they were all of his like drinking buddies. Like
okay.
that was his crew. Like they just like good people and because so much this is all like me knowing so little of the actual facts so extrapolating off of very very little but just the like so much of what he has to do is pandering to people to fund him or appease the royalty of the time to not get killed or not get
Mhm.
thrown in jail and stuff like that and dealing with all of the actor personalities so I feel like he
Yeah.
has a soft spot for somebody who's not every interaction isn't like 4D chess. They're just in that like no, it's just that's it. You get one level to them and that's all they are and that's okay.
Yeah. So it's like it's not him, but like his actors and his friends are just so he's just constantly watching and like you said 4D chess. He's 10 steps ahead of them already writing them into his next
Yep.
play. Cuz he really is like and I guess that's a good point too. Like a himbo wouldn't have the objective skills to write a himbo.
Right.
Good point. Good
I'd
point.
just be happy to be included.
Exactly. Just happy to be here.
which and I'm forgetting the actor's name, and I feel bad about it because he did such a good job, but um he was in Cymbeline in Walking Shadow.
Oh,
Um
Pablo.
yes. And just you knew. You
Yes, our resident himbo.
yes. I was like that was one where I was just like I was already sold on the character and I was like, "Oh, but he just mwah, just so good." That was exactly what I wanted from that and I was not disappointed even a little
Oh
bit.
god, it is so fun. Like that was when when I had decided on Cymbeline, like I had no idea how I was going to cast that play. Zero idea. The only person that had locked in was Mike as Giacomo. And so like we didn't even open that up in auditions. Like that was just a lock. Um for Cloten, I was like, I really hope. It was one of those things that I was like, I really hope Pablo decides to do this show because he would be a very good Cloten. And he was. He auditioned and like from the first video, I was like, yep, that's exactly. No notes.
Well, and
No
like we
notes, just
talked about with
vibes.
it, like you could play it far less sympathetic and less
Yes.
lovable. You could
Yes.
play it really harsh and really hard and he can be
Villainy.
very very unlikable. So
Yes.
you need that you need someone who has that level of understanding to
Of what it is to be a
yeah.
himbo.
Yeah. Not everybody can.
Nope. Nope, but boy did he. And yeah, that character is and I think the same can be said of Pandarus because like I wouldn't necessarily call Pandarus a himbo, but like he can be like creepy, um, like almost like predatory.
Mm,
He can be like I don't know the right word I'm looking for, but like just like a I don't know, gross old man.
yeah.
Um, but I don't like that. And a lot of that is the nature of doing one rehearsal, one show. Like we want all of these
Yeah.
characters to be likable in their own way, even the villains. Like the
Mhm.
villains have to be charming in their own way and they have to be like engaging. So you can't just boil them down to villain next, right? Like it
Right.
has to be fun and it has to be appealing to the audience in a way that like everyone can laugh and feel good and go home liking Shakespeare a little bit more than maybe they did before.
Yeah.
And making Cloten like a really slimy even Giacomo. Giacomo's a real piece of work. But
Not always the purest intention.
no.
Not
He literally hides in a box in her bedroom and looks at her naked. Like that no. But that's why you need such an engaging actor and the right edits.
yeah.
All boils down to knowing how to edit and casting the right people to make it a fun experience, regardless of what their characters are doing.
And I think it's and I give you so much credit as director in guiding people through it and talking through the scenes and everything because I feel like so many of the characters and I speaking of Cymbeline specifically just because it has so many characters and it was when I did not already have the inane knowledge of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was being introduced to so much information new. Like even moments where characters who had kind of a single goal or a single personality type, like you were still able to get those moments of humor from the more serious characters, or like I, thinking of any of the upper royalty scenes where like you've got conniving happening but then you also have these funny moments between the queen and the page and stuff like that and it's those little moments where I'm like no I'm not rooting for this person but I'm so much enjoying the time spent with them
Yes.
and that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to, as an audience, enjoy. That's a really, really good way to put it. Like you're not rooting for them, but you are enjoying the time spent. I'm going to write that down and put it in my notes because it's important.
It is and it's the like I really like, so not acting, but little bits of acting in the story ballets. Like
Yes, of course. It's
I
acting.
love, it is acting. It is just, I just don't have to say anything, which is lovely. Um I love playing bad guys, and especially either goofy bad guys or, comedic. Like I got to play one of the hyenas in
Mhm.
Lion King, and I was like, no, they can be scary, but they're mostly funny. But it's this, like, there's such a fun level, and we often take our story ballets and take little dances from them and go to the local elementary schools and stuff like that and do little pieces for them to show them, especially if it's this type of dance isn't something they would normally get exposed to. And one of my
Yeah.
all-time favorite moments was, it was like middle Simba, and the hyenas come in, and some of the kids in the audience were just like, "Oh no." And they were like trying to tell Simba and Nala to look out, and I was like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I want. Like I want you to not be afraid of me, but also like fear for the character that's on stage. Oh,
Mhm.
just it's perfect. That's
Yeah.
what I want.
Oh, that's the best.
It was so good. I was just like, look out. I'm like, I can't break. I can't, but I'm also,
I
I've got like my crazy hyena makeup on. So I'm just
know.
like, but oh, it's so good. So
That's so fun.
it's so
Do you know I know you know what the story ballet is this year, but do you know what you're going to be doing in it? Do they
I
have
do.
like
The cast list just recently released. There we go. Those are
Wow.
all the words.
Okay, way to tell your friends.
Well, so I haven't had rehearsal yet, and I don't totally know how I'm doing it. So we'll be curious. So I'm a part of a core group that's just going to be the Storm. So there's always like, yeah. So like it's going to be fun. It's Oz. Like I'm sure it's going to be an exhausting dance. So I'm very excited about that. I don't know if we're gonna have a couple of times that we storm, because that's usually like that's how we transition and we show that time has passed. But I'm the leader of the Winkies, so I'm pretty sure I'm Munchkin Mayor, which I'm really excited about. Because I'm
Wait,
like, yeah,
wait, remind
so
me. The
I
Winkies
think
are not the are there the flying monkeys, and then are the Winkies the guards?
I can't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was like, oh, but either way, like, I think I get to be silly and fun. Yeah, Songhart, it is exciting. That's the thing. I was talking to one of the other dancers recently because we're working on a project together outside of it, and I was like, it's no matter what it is, like I know I'm gonna have fun. Like
Yeah.
I'm never worried about it.
Oh, they're the OEO.
Oh,
Oh.
okay. Oh, perfect.
Okay.
So yeah, so
That's awesome. That's so exciting.
that's very
Congrats.
fun. Thank you.
Yeah. That'll be so cool. I hope the tornado music in The Wiz is some of the
Okay.
best like instrumental. It's one of the best instrumental pieces of music like ever. And I know you guys use like different music and everything, but um that's really really cool. That's so
Yeah.
exciting.
So I am excited. I think it's gonna be very fun.
Yeah. I also think it's going to be fun. I saw my first ballet.
Oh, that's
I
right.
mentioned this like briefly, yeah. But Pablo texted me and Mike and asked if we wanted to go see the Hamlet ballet, and we did, and it was so cool. Like I've never seen a ballet before, and it was just the way that they told the story through dance. Like and I'm not a stranger to nonverbal storytelling. Like with skating, that's all it was, but
Right.
I just never really experienced it that way before and in a Shakespeare play. Like that was so cool.
That is so cool, and it's exciting to me because I feel like that's obviously we take liberties with what we do, but we're usually telling stories that people are very familiar with, so that the nonverbal part of it is
Clear,
pretty easy.
yeah.
But I was like, I feel like that's another level up of challenge, because so much of Shakespeare is almost all verbal
Yeah.
and
Oh,
not
they
a
did a
ton of
really
physical, and I love it.
they just did such a good job with like costuming and movement and like building relationships. And there were a couple things that like if you didn't know Hamlet, like there were a couple girls in the bathroom at intermission, they were like, okay, wait, so who is this person and this person and this person? Because like the difference between Ophelia's dad and brother was kind of difficult to parse through if you don't know Hamlet.
Right.
But that her death scene was one of the coolest things I've ever seen, because
Mm.
they put a water trough in the middle of the stage, and she did this dance where she would like dip her head in, and then like Little Mermaid flip her hair back like her hair was down, and it was so cool. Yeah, and then they had a scrim, and behind that, big pieces of glitter started to fall like rain. Uh,
That's so cool.
yeah, it was amazing. It was really, really stunning. So that got me just excited about storytelling. I mean, it's just
Yeah,
such a different way to approach it, and I really loved it.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, is this like how did this come about? Is this a thing that this group normally does, or is it something special? Or
It's just Austin Ballet Austin.
that's so
Um they have, 7 or 8 shows in their season, and this just happened to be one of them, and we never would have like sought it out as something to go to, but um he asked and we were like, "Sure." Sounds great. Um and it was really, really cool to get to go see. So,
that's so awesome.
yeah.
I love it too because I like the beauty of the technique is always going to be something that I enjoy, but also just having really fun, really accessible like stuff like that makes me very very happy.
Yeah. And it was short too. Like
That's
it
nice.
was what, like a 40-minute first half and then like a 20-minute second half.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When they did Ophelia's death in the first half, we were like, huh, there can't be much left. There can't be much left. But they of course
That's
had
kind of a
to
big part of it.
mop the stage, or like dry off the stage in the middle of it. So they had to have an intermission. But yeah, it was really cool to like just I don't know. Yeah, it was cool. I was really really glad we went.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I love how happy everyone is.
It's just I'm realizing this is just a chance for me to just draw really fun and cute goobers being silly, and I love it.
It really is. And like that is the spirit of this scene so, so clearly. Like it is this joyful, joyful scene. And like they're so hesitant at the beginning because they're just like sweet little angels trying to. It's so. I don't know. We've all been there. We've all, had a crush on someone, and like you're never going to just say it, right? Because what if they don't like you back? Or what
It's
if any
scary.
number of things happens, and like just having that tentative build up to it is so, so sweet and so fun. I taught a little like before 12th night shows or before Berensman shows, there are a lot of education groups that come. And
Mm.
so sometimes we'll like offer an education activity leading up to the show. And last night, there were like, I don't know, like 20 kids. And usually they're like homeschool groups. So a lot
Mm-hmm.
of homeschool groups will come as like a enrichment activity or field trip or whatever, which is awesome. And so last night I took one of the speeches in 12th night, and we like went through it line by line. Each kid got a line and they had to, mark syllables and imperative words and translate into like their how they would say it, stuff like that. And it's a scene where um one of the lines is, the cunning of her passion invites me in this churlish messenger.
Mm.
And so basically we were kind of talking, there was a lot of vocab in there for them and a lot of like kind of awkward Shakespeare sentence structure. And we boiled it down to like, if you like someone, you're never going to just tell them. You're going to come up with this like elaborate, you're going to pass a note, or you're going to like tell a friend to tell a friend, or you're going to try and put the feelers out in some like cunning way, some clever way to try and get their attention rather than just saying it.
Yeah.
And they were so funny cuz like they were struggling conceptually a little bit with like that line in particular. And once we started talking about actual teenager shit, they were like, "Oh,
Yeah.
yes, all the things we do daily." And huh.
Truly, you are at a point of a level of understanding of this that you will never rival as you get older. Like, you will never be this aware of how this feels.
Yep. Yep.
Uh,
But it was really cute. It was really
that's,
fun.
I love that. That makes me so
Yeah.
happy.
And it was good to like be in an education setting or like in a like teaching setting and not uh like outside of teaching.
I was gonna say, and then also get to leave and come home and not have to go back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. I
Yeah.
feel
Cuz
that.
I love it. I love teaching Shakespeare. Um and I love opportunities like that where I get to like talk about Shakespeare with kids and uh be a big old nerd about it, but it didn't take anything out of me besides that half hour of energy. And
That's
um
exciting.
yeah. Yeah, it feels good to be in a place where that's not every ounce of every day.
Yeah. 100%. I've completely forgotten how baseball caps work or ponytails for some reason. Also, I love that I was like, hey, you know what? All of this scenery, not hard enough. Let's also draw a baseball hat, which is just its own special challenge.
Yeah, I mean, it looks good. It looks like a baseball hat.
We got there.
Yeah.
It's so funny with some of these. And I think we've talked about this a little bit before, but there are times where like how the character looks in my head is such a specific thing that I'm just like I can't unsee it. I was like, nope, this is, because this is part of her like being shy but also being like reserved and everything. Like that's a very I can
Like,
avert
don't
my
perceive
eyes.
me.
Yeah. And so I was like, no, like she needs that, but it's also kind of this like I don't know, in a very weird way. I was like, no, but she's a little bit more independent because of that, but also like can be not perceived and so it needs to be there. Like that's an important part. I was just like, or you could have just given her a ponytail and called it a day. It's like, no.
Yeah, but that tells so much of the story in the same way that costuming does. Like it's funny how it's such a similar tool to use you took all of that characterization that we talked for like 15 minutes about and just boiled it down to one accessory. And that's so cool. Think that's a really neat tool to use. Is this a real fountain that you're modeling this after?
It's a very, very loose interpretation of one.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, there are two people in this picture that I looked at for about 4 seconds. But I didn't even click on the full image. Yeah.
No, I
I
love
think
that.
they might be horses too. I don't know. Who knows?
What?
I don't know.
They might be horses or there might be horses as well.
There might be horses in it. Like I said, I looked at it super quickly.
They might be people, they might be horses. Who knows?
Who knows?
Who can say, really, right?
Exactly. uh, too funny.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So I had been meaning. Oh no, 2 points. There we go. I got there. Again, sometimes the art brain and the thinking brain can't exist at the same time.
Listen, I get
Um,
it.
one of the things I was gonna say is I really like that in all of these different kind of love interactions that we have, Shakespeare manages to make them feel very different. And I was specifically thinking of like Romeo and Juliet because they are also so young, but the way that they interact with each other seems so much more purposeful, but also purposefully coy in that
Mm,
kind of like they are very much playing off of each other's tension and like that's the exciting part of it. Whereas this feels like, once the tension is brought, like it's actually shutting them down more than egging them on. And I think
absolutely.
that's really cool.
Yeah. And it's a unique thing about this coupling is that they never really like fully click because even when they have this moment of like expressing their love, it still is Troilus is still like, okay, but don't cheat on me though. She's like, what? Okay. Like I won't. But why are you bringing that up right now? Like why is that the first thing? Like we just got together.
Right.
Don't ruin it, bro.
If you could just say less.
If you say less, Troilus. But yeah, it is very, very different because Romeo and Juliet are very much like right on the same page, like right away.
Yeah. So I just think it's impressive. Yeah, not that he needs any props because it's fine. It's fine. You got this. But I enjoy the fact that there are so many different types of love and interaction shown, even among characters who are very much the same or in somewhat similar situations.
Yeah,
It's nice. It's
it is
refreshing.
nice. And like that's a cool thing about Troilus and Cressida too is that you see so many different relationships in this play. This play ultimately is about like the couples in it because you have obviously Troilus and Cressida, you have Pandarus kind of as a go between as Cressida's family and then this like these feelings that he has for Troilus. Um but then you see Paris and Helen of Troy like the face that launched 1,000 ships and she's got like one scene, like she's there through the whole thing but she just kind of like is there, it's not about her. um Even when they're having this whole conversation about should we give her back, she's just kind of standing there like they're just talking about her while she's there. And so you see this relationship that's so important and so crucial to the entire Trojan War, but it's reduced to like background characters. And then you have Hector and Andromache, and he is the warrior, and she is like begging him to stay home in the obviously in the battle where he goes and dies. Um, Spoiler alert! Listen to your wife. Um,
Seriously,
Another
Shakespeare
Shakespeare
tells us it in
character,
so many different ways. Just listen to your wife.
right?
Listen to your
But yeah, so she has this like, and it's this really like this scene where she is just begging him to stay home, and they have this like really beautiful, strong relationship. But ultimately, his like commitment to this war, or his pride or whatever it is that rip Hector, and then you have Achilles and Patroclus. So on the Greek side, the best warrior in Greece who's just hanging out with his boyfriend in his tent. And all the entire subplot of the Greek generals are like, how can we get Achilles to fight again? Like he is being a lazy sack of dirt. Like,
slut.
yeah, he is being a lazy slut. And we love that for Achilles, but they
We do.
don't.
I do. I do love that for him. Honestly, like more power to him. But yeah, if you need him, that's tough.
Yeah. Which is also very cool that and that's one of the reasons that like I also like um the idea of Pandarus and like that like yearning for Troilus, because this is a play where we have a very explicit gay relationship in the play. It is explicitly written that Achilles and Patroclus are in love, and only when Patroclus dies is when Achilles is like, "Oh, I'm going to go ham on these Trojans." Like that, I'm back, babies. You killed my boyfriend, prepare to die. Um, and it's so beautiful. And coming from these stereotypically hyper mask characters, like such as Achilles, I really love that.
Yeah.
I
No, I
love it.
really, really like that.
And it's like one of those things where we never, especially in early modern theater, you don't get it written out so clearly. There's a ton of space to interpret,
Right.
but very rarely do we get it like flat out. So,
Which absolutely shameless promotion of your podcast is. I love the number of guests you have on that talk about all of these amazing like gender fluidity parts of the play and different ways that you can play all these different characters, and
mhm.
it's so refreshing and so nice and gives it such additional life and yeah, makes it that much more relatable, and I enjoy that so much.
Me too. All right,
Good
Swan.
stuff. I like it.
What do you say we wrap this party up?
We got some good moments.
Yeah,
So we can see.
I
Feeling
love
better.
this.
Oh, so my final question for you,
Uh-huh.
as we're do our slow scroll of these. What brought you to landing on this play?
I really loved that like my mom made costumes for Cymbeline. Normally that's something that we never did for the one rehearsal shows, and I really loved it being like stylized.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about other plays that can be very stylized. I also was thinking of plays that have an ensemble feel where yes, it's about Troilus and Cressida, but really like I if you're auditioning for a Shakespeare show and you get cast as like Achilles or Helen of Troy, like that's rad as heck. Nobody knows like the size of the parts matters less because like when you do Romeo and Juliet, everyone wants to be Romeo or Juliet or Mercutio, right? Having something that's a little less known opens it up, I think, for people to be a little bit more excited about being open minded about
Mm-hmm.
roles that they're looking for. Um, Cymbeline proved last year that people will show up to anything.
Enthusiastically too.
Yeah. So really just like I can do whatever I want. So I wanted to do kind of a lesser
Yes.
known play
No, I love that.
and
Plus, I
something
feel
that
like
had a
that
mix of
too.
comedy.
If you do make cuts or if you do make changes, there's gonna be less people in the audience who are just like, I can't believe that you cut that scene. I was like, you could have cut
Exactly.
whatever you wanted out of Cymbeline, and I would never have known.
Oh yeah, I straight up changed the ending of Troilus and Cressida.
Sweet.
Because this is what we were gonna do in 2020. We were gonna do it in Rhode Island in 2020.
Ah.
So I think it's a good time to bring it back.
Okay,
Actually
so
do
my
it.
final question to that
Uh-huh.
is, if people wanted to, one, see this show, or two, support it, how could they do that?
Great question. They can follow us on Instagram at um WS Shakes.
Yeah.
Or I guess on Facebook at Walking Shadow Shakespeare Project is mostly where I pretty much use Instagram and Facebook for Walking Shadow.
And there's a website too for it that has
Yes.
cool photos and everything.
Yes, and it is not up to date from last year, but it will be eventually. WalkingShadowShakespeare.com.
Yay!
Yeah.
Excellent. I love that.
Yeah. I also love it. I love this series of Polaroids. It is like such a fun little photo album.
No, this is very fun. I like this. I'm that much more excited again because I knew literally nothing about this one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It
this
was
is great.
exciting to get to talk about. And it's such a
Yeah.
fun scene, and you made it like even more fun because
Just love.
you're a magical human being.
Ugh, I just love it. I love drawing people making faces. It's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
So
Ugh.
this is so fun. Yay!
Yeah. This is really cool.
Excellent.
All right, Swan.
Thank you so guy.
You're the best.
You're the best. Hey, we'll see you every
Around.
yeah, again sometime in the future.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.